Coogs house. We knew they were called the Forever Coogs. We didn't know they'd be giving us cardiac arrest forever.
You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs, daily podcast about your Houston Cougars, or Forever Coogs in this case. I'm your host, Parker Ainsworth, joined as always after TBD by Mike Brown of numerous shows these days. We're going to keep some stuff for the future. But Mike, I usually have some goofy, weird question. I'm just trying to catch my breath. I want to ask, because the other day you said that they were going to win this game. You seemed very confident after the quarterfinal game that they'd win the semifinal over Eberlein Drive. Did that go as you planned?
It's so weird. Yes, because all the incredible listeners here at Locked On know the nickname for the University of Houston. And it doesn't matter whether it's baseball, football, basketball, swimming, and diving. We are the cardiac Coogs. So the thing is that I knew we were going to win this game, and I knew it was going to be close. I think I said 5. I think my score prediction was by 5, and we ended up winning by what was the final score?
3.
Okay,
3.
so we ended up winning by 3. So, look, honestly, Eberlein Drive, I give them credit. They're a nice team. They play hard. I mean, they play hard, but this, Parker, like, I don't even know if this is awkward to say, but is this like a team of destiny? Like, can you compete in the basketball tournament
and be a team of destiny?
Like as a diehard sports fan, because I'm so weirdly. You just said it before we started the show. Like, I'm so weirdly invested in this thing. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, you going out Friday night?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna watch the basketball tournament, watch Forever Coogs play Eberlein Drive," and everyone's like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Well, and it's Houston Cougar basketball. You get Rob Gray on the floor. I'm gonna watch it. For those folks at home that don't know any idea what we're talking about, just something else doing on a Friday night, but you tune in anyway. Thank you. We're talking about the basketball tournament. Been going on a little over a decade. Forever Coogs, a team of Houston alumni in that tournament. Winner gets $1 million. They have a fun Elam ending that we'll get into at some point because that came into play big time. But the Cougs, the Forever Coogs, the alumni team, just won the semifinal matchup over Eberlein Drive, a Midwest group, and is heading to the finals to play either an Ohio State alumni group or a Kentucky alumni group. All that and more soon. This was a Rob Gray masterpiece in a number of different ways. There are a couple different moments that he kind of very clearly gave away. Hey, this is the Rob Gray kind of night, right? And there was a moment in, I think, the third quarter, because he's going that direction on the TV screen. He hits a 3 and just kind of does the little like shrug with the 3s in each hand to the camera. And I was like, oh, he's not losing tonight. They almost gave it away. They almost did. But that was my moment. Was there a moment where you were like, Rob Gray is not losing this basketball game?
The look in his eyes when it tipped. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, I mean, Rob Gray was sensational tonight. So was Fabian White. I mean, Fabian White was just a monster tonight. I mean, Rob Gray just continues to be Rob Gray. And again, if you're a fan of this guy like you and I are, and so many in University of Houston basketball are, like, okay, rinse, wash, repeat. This is another culture win for the University of Houston. Rob Gray would not let them lose this game. And look, without his running buddy, Wes Van Beck, still found a way to get it done tonight. They just, like, I don't know. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. The heavyweight matchup is going to be La Familia against the Forever Coogs. That's the Kentucky team. The Ohio State team is not beating that Kentucky team tonight, in my opinion. That's a heavyweight battle on Sunday. That is going to be a Rob Gray kind of game because it's going to be a quick up and down type of game. Tonight, we're the big guys. Fabian White, too. Listen, I know, what did the box score for Pollard say? Pollard only had 4 points, but he had 3 rebounds tonight in only 15 minutes. He is an unsung hero tonight because of the defense he played when he was on the floor was sensational in the first half.
15 big minutes. I would also say that, like, he played so hard in those 15 minutes, but it also meant that like you had Fabian White going a lot harder in his. You had other guys in that front court that could kind of contribute more when it was their turn.
Exactly.
I want to talk about a couple of the guys you mentioned, but you mentioned the speed of the game and the bruising inside, and I felt like this game was just chaotic. Both teams. It is always a game of runs, right? But both teams had big time runs. I think the game felt chaotic because it is, it's not organized since they have a lot of practice time.
Right.
I think the Cougs are going to continue to win chaotic games. I think that plays to their hand.
Yeah, I do too. And okay, I got to mention this real quick. Talk about chaos. I don't know if you know what I'm about to say. That might have been the ugliest court I've ever seen in my entire life.
The 3-point line inside of it.
Well,
it's all kinds of decals.
Okay, like I don't know if it was me. Like I have brand new TVs here in the house. Like my head hurt, like trying to figure out what everything was saying, and then the fact that like Eberlein Drive's jerseys were like a weird blue. The ball was like everything was just weird. Like I kind of like it, but then I kind of didn't. But yeah, like it was just chaos tonight. But that plays into University of Houston's hands. And it doesn't matter who wins in that Ohio State-Kentucky game that's being played right now. Neither one of those teams want to play a nasty fist fight type of game with Houston. Neither one of those teams want to do that.
Both are very talented. Both play too pretty. I want to bring up Steven's point here. Steven comments in on the live show. The tournament's so fun, especially if a team at your school in it. We said that before in the show. We agree, Steven. But having a dominant guard is such an X factor with the Elam ending. I guess I was thinking the way Houston's culture has always been play scrappy, play in chaos, control the chaos. But the truth is that Rob Gray is also the controller and maestro of all of that, right? Stephen brings a point that kind of like takes that to the next level to me, where like it really does feel like this is built for guys that are just bucket getters, and Rob Gray is just a walking bucket.
Yeah, he's a walking bucket. I thought Chandre Jones too. I just want to make sure we talk about all this during the show. His 4 points tonight were big. Timely. Timely buckets. And this is the thing, Parker. Like this team, again, rinse, wash, repeat. This team cannot shoot. Like this University of Houston team is a bad shooting team. And it's weird that Steve says that about the guards because he's 100% right. But Rob Gray just like it's so funny. Like, tell me, who does he remind you of? Like, I'm trying to think of a guy that I can be like, oh, you know what? He reminds me of that guy because he's not your prototypical point guard. He's not a great shooter. He's a good distributor of the ball, but he's not a great distributor of the ball. He's a good rebounder. He kind of reminds me of a Bob Sura-esque, like
I was thinking that vintage. I was going to go somewhere between 1998 and 2004.
Yeah,
he's
a Bobby
he's a
Jackson.
Scoring point guard. Yeah, Bobby Jackson's a good one. Scoring point guard, not a pass first point guard from that era where they shot a lot of long twos.
Yeah,
and to be fair, he won the game on a long two, which you mentioned with the Elam ending. Pretty jump shot he had there at the end. But Elam ending means that under 4 minutes, the first dead ball. They set a target score at 8 points on top of the team that has the lead score. Eberlein Drive was making a run as they got approached that 4 minutes. At 3:59, Houston called a timeout and then set the target score where they had to score 8 points. Eberlein Drive had to score 10 points because of where they were. And that really ended up being a big deal. Had it been tied, I don't know that would have been the way it goes. His jumper to end it when he was just it was, I guess they didn't call it isolation. It was very quick hitting, but he was just like, hey, I got the ball on the left wing. I'm taking a 2-dribble pull up. That guy can't stay in front of me. And it knocked it in. Gamer. It took big stones.
And look, I hate the basketball tournament for one reason, that it actually has me excited about a different way to look at the ending of a game. Like I'm a purist when it comes to football, basketball, baseball. Like I don't like all of these new age technologies. Like I'm a 85-year-old, mind and a 33-year-old body when it comes to sports. But it really is like watching these Elam endings is so cool because it's you're when do you call the timeout? When you get the ball, like that's a huge turn of events that if you don't call the timeout in the right moment and it caught, the other team hits a 3, for example, that's a huge momentum swing. Like I think we went into the Elam ending, we were up by what, 5?
I want to say they cut it to 2 or 3.
Okay. It was either 3 or 5. That's what it was. We were up by 3. We called the timeout. We then hit I want to say it was TaShawn Thomas hit a layup that put us up 5. That was huge because the Eberlein Drive had all of the momentum going into the Elam ending.
And a big dunk. Dunk. This is not an Eberlein Drive show, but that you gotta love that. That's a big dunk.
No, I don't, because that guy barely got off the ground. I don't know what that guy was talking about. Like nice drive, but he's also left-handed. It wasn't like an off. It wasn't an offhand dunk. Nice dunk. Okay, congrats. Enjoyed going back to Eberlein Drive because you lost. But I mean, we get to play for a title on Sunday. We get to
play for a title on Sunday. We hadn't talked enough about Fabian. I want to get more on him in a second.
Oh God,
we have a couple comments to talk about too. And I was impressed by TaShawn Thomas, and I want to talk about him because I like talking about him. But I should point out that as the Houston Cougars, Forever Coogs, are building a championship caliber team, you can do the same thing with passion, drive, and patience because of the winning formula for championships and keeping your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to keep maintaining your vehicle and level up to peak performance with superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether it's speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. Over on 22 million parts for number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and the eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your parts guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back because eBay Motors are burning rubber and not cash. So the parts you need and the price you want is easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible lines only. Exclusive supply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. It's funny, Mike. I feel like you know that word for word as well as I do these days. So I have to say, first of all, I should point out, as someone who's shopping for a second car, eBay Motors actually does have a lot of helpful things. But Fabian White, I wonder, and this is something I want to have, and this may be a conversation after the final on Sunday. He looks like a pro, and I mean that to say that he moves a little different. He's rotating on defense a little differently. He sees the court a little bit different with the ball in his hands. He's not dominating in terms of scoring like Rob Gray, although tonight he had 17 points, with Rob had 18. But he just looks more in control of the game than your typical 6'8" forward does in this tournament. I understand he's a 6'8". He probably has to play the 4 at the next level. But I think he looks like a pro out there. I'm only one set of eyes.
I mean, maybe. It's very... You want to try and temper the expectations in this tournament just a little bit, only because it depends on who you're going up against, right? Like tonight, I mean, he was dominating against guys that don't belong on the same court as him. I mean, all due respect to Eberlein Drive, the test comes on Sunday, no matter who U of H ends up playing. What's so impressive about Fabian, I think you make a great point, the game is slower for guys like him and Rob Gray. It just is. Like when Rob Gray gets the ball in his hands, he knows for the most part what he wants to do. Same thing with Fabian. And that's what you're going to see. And we'll get to our predictions, I'm sure, at the end of the show. Because I've actually watched both of the teams that they could potentially be playing, and both are really good matchups for U of H. They just are. And when you have guys not only like those two, but Justin Gorham, who's my guy. I mean, he's been my guy the entire tournament.
Yeah.
Another 9 and 7 tonight, but he does so much that is not in the box score. Fabian's almost the opposite, right? Like if Fabian is on the court, you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to rebound pretty well. He's not a great rebounder. What did he have tonight? He had, tonight he had
3, but only one person.
He had 3 rebounds. He's a finesse type of 4. Right? He's not a guy that you can just put out there and be like, oh, hey, go get me 15 rebounds. That's not his game. But they also don't need him to be because this entire team rebounds the ball. Pollard, Gorham, Gray, Chandre Moore is actually a pretty good rebounder for his size as well. So what Fabian White has done these last couple games is he's the X factor. Do the Cougs win tonight without him? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, but it doesn't matter. Just like Alex Bregman said last year, I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. I also think, though, you mentioned winning without Fabian, someone else would have had to step up because I felt like he just played a big role in this. They won a couple games to start the tournament without him. He's playing in Summer League with the Houston Rockets, and maybe that's having that in the back of my mind is also shaping what I'm thinking of is he a pro or not? I just maybe frankly it's also that I want it for him. He's had the moniker a lot, the winningest player in program history because 121 and 28. I believe it. I remember that off the top of my head because I say it a lot. He's just an incredible winner, and it makes sense that he comes on this team and they start winning this thing. I guess I didn't want to make this about legacies. I kind of make that after the tournament's over and we got another game to play on Sunday. Do you think there's any shot this gets Rob Gray back in the G League? Maybe. I mean, 6'1" guard is hard to make the pros. Got to be the right team. But is a G League team out there like, man, that guy can still score?
See, and that's the thing is, this is so hard to try and figure out. Like, there's their legacy with the University of Houston. I don't think, no matter what happens on Sunday, is unchanged.
Yeah.
What this can do to get a guy into the league, I don't know, because how do scouts look at this, or how do NBA teams look at this tournament? Again, it remains to be seen. When I watch Rob Gray play, this is the perfect format for him. He screams international ball to me. I don't think the G League does a lot for a guy like him. Number one, I'm fairly certain he's going to make more money playing overseas than he's going to make in the G League.
I'd assume so.
I think it's also a different type of game that they play internationally that fits his style better. It doesn't matter. You want a fist fight? I will fist fight you right now. That's not the G League. The G League is more finesse. Playing overseas, and whether it's Australia or Israel or Germany or Greece, it doesn't matter. That fits the mold of a Rob Gray more. I honestly think this team, it fits them as a whole more. When you look at guys like Wes Van Beek, TaShawn Thomas, Fabian White, I think all of our guys that are playing in this are all very similar type of players and prospects.
And Fabian is actually playing for one of the better teams in France. TaShawn Thomas was a multi-time league MVP in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I just pulled it up because I want to make sure I was right on this. Rob Gray has most recently signed a contract with an Italian team.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different ways programs have done this. Houston went with a bunch of younger alumni that are presently playing in Europe. I mean, TaShawn Thomas is kind of on the older side of this group, right? Mm-hmm. Other teams, like potentially La Familia, the Kentucky group on Sunday, went with older guys that had NBA experience, right? And that's kind of the two. And I think the young legs has really helped, is I guess what I'm getting around to. Guys that are presently playing European basketball, it's clearly been an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. And it fits. It's so funny, Parker, because that's what Sampson has success with at the University of Houston. Recently, he's gotten the Quentin Grimes, the Jarris Walkers of the world. But he made his name with these not as big of star names, the Devin Davises of the world. Started at Arkansas, ended up at U of H. So it fits that mold of they got to figure out a different way to continue to play ball. But look, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, we don't care.
Okay? We don't care.
We don't care. We're playing for a title on Sunday. They're not going to raise a banner, I don't think.
They can put something in the stadium. I don't know if it's got to be a banner.
It would be cool. I'm sure that they would do something. But yeah, it's not like a.
I think there's something about this being so many recent alums too.
Yeah.
That it does feel like, like these are guys that have kind of set up the culture we see presently. You mentioned that these guys weren't recruited like Jarris or, even Quentin. I guess Quentin started at Kansas, but Mercy Miller will be a freshman this year, and there's no one on the team that has had as high a profile coming out of high school as Mercy. I mean, Mercy's dad's Master P, right? But I do feel like because they built the system we're watching play out in real time right now. I mean, I talked to Tobias Bass the other day, and he thinks there's a real shot Houston gets 3 different 5-star kids in the class of 2025. He thinks they'll at least get one. He says there's a good chance to get 3. Either way, that program is built because of these guys. These guys play this hard and are winning this tournament because that's the culture established at the U of H, right? That's just what's there. Did you see Sampson tweet after he tweeted something? I forget. I don't even remember what the clip was, but he just tweeted all caps culture with what I think it might have been the Rob Gray game winner. It might have been the interview afterwards. I don't, but it was just culture in all caps.
And the thing is, what I would give to see Kelvin Sampson coach this team, that would have been like the icing on the cake. Because you imagine tonight, he would have been in there, what's tonight with some of the things that we were watching. But this culture is real.
It bleeds into it. Rob Gray says much about the way they play is in their DNA. Afterwards,
they're going running. Yeah, they're going running to the Rocky statue tomorrow. They're going to hang out tonight. And in the words of Rob Gray, we're going to go see the Rocky statue tomorrow, go for a little run.
Well, and then the other day, I think it was Andy Yanez, Pause Language Jam, another Houston Cougar podcast, asked Fabian White in post-game, what's it like having Sampson in the building or something like that? And they were like, Sampson's still on us. Like, Sampson's still getting on us after all of that.
Yeah. I mean, death, taxes, and Kelvin Sampson never being content with anything. And it's weird because that type of coaching doesn't work everywhere, especially with the kids today. Like, that mindset, it's not for everybody. This is a different topic for a different day. The only thing he has left to do, and it's very Dusty Baker-esque, he's got to win a title. That's the big thing with Kelvin, is all of these stories are great. And if they win on Sunday, that's great. That's what Kelvin is focused on. He wants to win a national championship, which he has not done yet. This would be pretty cool for him, though, because he would look at this on Sunday. And I don't know anything about this. It would not shock me if he's there on Sunday. I got a sneaky suspicion he'll be in the building on Sunday.
I think Fertitta could fly him out there. Now, if you're looking to keep the excitement going, heart rate pumping between now and Sunday, keep things exciting, I got to recommend FanDuel, because all summer long, FanDuel is hooking up customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's what they're selling for everyone every day all summer. I'm telling you, I told you guys in May to go ahead and get on the Astros early. The odds are getting closer and closer to even, but go check it out right now at FanDuel. They have all kinds of stuff going on with baseball, WNBA when it's back, a handful of things, the Olympics. I don't know what their odds would be on the TBT. We can talk about that, I guess, at some other point. But FanDuel is making everything this summer more exciting. Head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, so Sampson and the culture, the DNA. Can we spend one moment talking about TaShawn Thomas, who was actually not here for the Sampson years, but went to Oklahoma when Sampson came in that little transition, right? And for what it's worth, was newcomer of the year in the Big 12 when he got there. I thought he played, we talk about important minutes. He made important plays at like very crucial time, where the bucket start Elam or the three to open the game. I mean, like there were moments that he stopped the bleeding in a way that were really important.
He's awesome. You know, as Dick Vitale would say, he's awesome, baby, with a capital I. He's a pro's pro, you know, and that's the thing, dude, is all of our big guys, you kind of look at and you're like, what do you do with them? Because they're not your Willie Cauley-Steins, right? You know, Gorham, Pollard, Thomas, and White. None of those guys are traditional big men. They're not 7 foot. They don't defend the rim at a high level. They're all good rebounders. I think Gorham's the best of the four when it comes to just going to get the ball, but he's not 7 foot either. But what they do is they know where to be when they need to be there. And they have it in their DNA to make the right play. And that's why it's so difficult. And it's so easy for me to sit up here and say, good luck beating this team. Mm-hmm. And I am dead serious about that. It's not about being a homer. This is where, I went to school. I love this school. I love this team. But you look at the teams they're going up against, they don't have that. You look at Eberlein Drive tonight. Good team. They're not a great team. They didn't have enough to play with them from the beginning of the game till the end of the game. And I know the score was close. I know, but if you watch that game, there was never a doubt in my mind U of H was not losing that game.
I also think
TaShawn Thomas was a big part of that.
A big part of that. I also think that the closeness of the game was a reflection of the Elam ending, right? The idea that they set a target score was if Houston could have just wasted shot clocks, they probably win the game by 10 or 12.
Right.
But they can't waste shot clocks. There's no point in wasting a shot clock. I also wanted to point out and make sure that I got this right, that TaShawn Thomas was a 3-time Israeli League Cup winner and an Israeli League MVP in 2019 and Defensive Player of the Year in the Israeli League at the same time. But he presently plays in France. I think I don't know if I got that correct a second ago. Stephen asked about. There's a couple questions in the chat here. The Coogs during year one is impressive. Usually takes a team a few years to figure out what the style and because it is a very different kind of basketball. CA37, I can't tell if they're responding back and forth with each other or not, but has team go all the way in the first year, other than the first year of the league, which obviously is different. Without even looking up, Steven tells us that he doesn't think so. Overseas Elite dominated the first couple of years. And I feel like, not that this is Overseas Elite, this is a Houston team, but that is kind of the same mold we're looking at here, where Houston found guys that are young, that are playing pro basketball, wherever it may be it overseas in France or Spain or Italy or what have you. And that's an interesting tidbit that I guess the first few years of this league, they were dominated. I kind of didn't remember because it wasn't in my radar. It wasn't a Houston team. It was dominated by an overseas team. And now the team full of overseas guys is winning again. They just have Houston on their shirts.
Mm-hmm. Houston could put together a dynasty easily. I mean, when I say easily, like that pipeline is fresh, young, and hungry, which makes this is their tournament. This is their style of tournament. If it was up to U of H, they would be playing this on a schoolyard, with metal nets. Like that's the type of team that this is. They'll play you anytime, anywhere.
The other day, they won a close game as well. They had to come back in the Elam ending. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of jotting down like show topics on my phone, the notes app. And one of the things I'd said was like, okay, they didn't win. What alumni would help? And I was like thinking, do I talk about Galen? Do I talk about Ladiki? Whatever. I think the fact that there's multiple names you could throw and they keep winning is indicative of exactly what you're saying. This is built for what the program's become, right? Yeah. It's a fun way to get to enjoy these guys playing. I feel like we've tapped on a lot of the big name guys from the Knights game. We mentioned the chaos and how that kind of played into Houston's hand. Am I missing a guy that you talked about Devin Davis, I think, every night. We missed a guy yet.
Well, I mean, to me, there's two things that I want to make sure we touch on with the game tonight. Number one, here's the difference in the game to me, and it's the details. U of H was 12 of 12 from the free throw line tonight. Eberlein Drive was 19 of 23. They lose the game by 3. They missed 4 free throws. The U of H out-rebounded yet another team. They have not been out-rebounded one game yet this tournament. And the big thing with Eberlein Drive that was coming into tonight that they were talking about, 66 years of combined pro basketball experience, whether it be international, overseas. And they touted the fact that, they had, I think it was 6 different guys in the game before this that all scored in double digits. Look at U of H's box score tonight. You had how many? You had 1, 2. You had 3 guys in double digits, and then Gorham had 9. Chantre Jones had 4. Melvin Frazier had 7. Devin Davis had 7. Devontae Pollard had 4. It may not look as, look how many points you're scoring, but for this team to be able to have everybody who played tonight not only score once, but they scored multiple buckets is huge when you're not just relying on Fabian White and Rob Gray for all of your offense. Now, again, they're not a great shooting team, but they only have to win one more game. And it doesn't matter how ugly, nasty, brawl type of game it has to be. U of H just got to get it right once on Sunday, and they're going home with $1 million.
Well, and I think that the things we talked about that make this tournament a very Houston Cougar tournament play out with either opponent. I do think that Eric Bledsoe being, an older veteran, but on the Kentucky team at least has so much pro experience that while he is a little bit older, he's a guy I would be worried about. I forget which of the Harrison kids is better than the other, but they have both Harrison twins, the Kentucky team. They're actually presently losing. I have it going into the window right here.
Interesting.
To Carmen's crew. As I go through Carmen's crew, like Jared Sullinger's a tough matchup, but I take TaShawn Thomas, right?
Yeah.
I just maybe I'm being biased there. I do. And I look him down their roster and see kind of, names that I might remember from college a little bit, but nothing that I'm sitting around like, oh man, I don't know how we're going to cover that.
That's interesting. Dude. That's a good win, though. I mean, Ohio State or Carmen's crew winning that is a little bit of a surprise, especially by 16 points. That's gonna be a fun game. But the thing is, U of H showed it tonight. Give us your best player. We will not let your best player beat us.
Right.
That's U of H's mantra. Whether it's this team or their the actual men's basketball team, like that's ingrained in these guys. Sullinger, they will take Sullinger out of the game on Sunday because it looks like that's who they're going to be playing. So we can kind of zero in on that matchup if you'd like to.
It's a big halftime lead. I don't want to act like Kentucky can't come back and like that. With the big halftime lead, and we'll talk again on Sunday night after the game. So subscribe and hit the bell so you know we're live. I have to say that I guess Carmen's crew is the team to project if they're up by this many. I think of Sullinger as the toughest matchup because he did have a bit of an NBA career before going overseas. I think it says here they played in Puerto Rico last. Mm-hmm. He is 6'9". He's a little bit stouter at 6'9" as well. That would be my tough matchup, but I think I still pick TaShawn Thomas. I really do.
Yeah, and you got Fabian White too. You got Pollard. You got multiple dudes that you can throw at Sullinger, and that's why this matchup is so good for U of H. You don't want to be too cocky going into this game, but U of H should be favored in this matchup. In my opinion, favored. I would say the line should be 3.5. If it is indeed Carmen's crew, my project U of H hoists the title, wins $1 million, and wins by 7 would be my official prediction. I love this matchup, and I love the way that U of H is playing right now. It's crazy because I'd put it out there. There's nobody who's watched this tournament closer than you and I. We have been glued to the television.
Every single game.
Like we are watching all of these games, and they are so locked in right now. It's just they're going out, they're having fun. And even the commentators are like, this is just Houston basketball. I'm like, I know. I've been watching it.
Well, and there's some aspects of Houston Cougar basketball I've been watching for a lot more than a couple weeks.
Yep.
I guess a guy that's having a good game right now, based on the box score, is this Jeff Gibbs guy who played at Otterbein College, which is a smaller school in Ohio, but he's from Columbus. He's been playing in Europe, and I guess it says here most recently in Tokyo. He's having a pretty good game tonight. He's a very, I don't mean this pejoratively, I mean is the strength of his. He's a very, very heavy two guard, and like 6'2", and just broad shoulders, big.
See, and that's the type of guy that could give this team trouble. But that's got Devin Davis written all over it. So,
yeah, I think they won his length and speed on that.
Melvin Frazier too. Those are multiple guys. Rob Gray as well, who's a very shifty, good defender. They got too many guys, I feel like, for either one of these teams to match up well with them.
I don't mean to belittle the fact this guy played, I think it says here, Division III basketball. Rob Gray's a bucket. I don't think he can stand in front of Rob either. I think, at some point he's got to cover us too. And that's the way that goes. I'm excited to see Sunday because especially I think they match up better with Carmen's crew, the Ohio State group. And so if that's the way this is really going to play out, that's exciting.
I really don't know how the TBT feels about if it's Carmen's crew against.
They've been hyping up the Kentucky group a lot.
That's why I bring that up. I mean, you have two, Ohio State. I mean, they're in Columbus. No offense to Columbus, Ohio, but they have nothing better to do in Columbus at this point in the year than, get excited to have their hearts broken by their football team and, anything Ohio State related. And U of H, I feel like, obviously being here in Houston, I think they would get a pretty good tune in on Sunday.
I would think so. I think the other thing is that this has been such a team that looks so much like the present day Houston Cougar team, and just in how they play, that they've got like a lot of crossover storylines. I wonder if TBT would fly out Samson just because they want to have him at the halftime talk or whatever. Like would they find some way to make sure they can make plugs? Because Houston basketball does do pretty well in terms of TV ratings because it is such a great program. And so if they can kind of liken that, I'm sure there'd be some TV pull there.
Yeah. And I mean, the game being at 1:00 on Sunday, I don't know if that helps or hurts. I think their social media is doing a sensational job. The U of H Twitter account, the men's basketball account has done a great job staying up with this tournament. The TBT Twitter account has done a really good job of it as well. I don't know if people are going to say, well, I got to be glued to the TV on Sunday at 1:00. But if I say Sunday at 1:00 Central Time enough times and you listen to the show enough times, you'll be tuned into your TVs 1:00 on Sunday Central Standard Time on FS1 to watch the University of Houston win the championship and $1 million on Sunday at 1:00 Central Time.
Well, and Mike, you also will be tweeting it out because we'll both be talking about it on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Mike, you're at Mike Brown _2020 on Twitter, but what else you got going on these days before we wrap it up?
Man, Beer Sports Whatever is in full swing right now. Got a couple cool guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Check out my Twitter at Mike Brown _2020 or on Facebook, just search Mike Brown there at the top, Houston, Texas. We do Facebook Live videos. We give away a bunch of stuff. We sell shirts, hats, whatever you guys are looking for. We'll hook you up at Beer Sports Whatever.
Whatever you're looking for, Beer Sports whatever, right?
Exactly.
We'll be after the Locked On Coogs, all kinds of stuff. Football season's about to kick off, so we got fun stuff to talk about with all of that. We'll obviously be back here on Sunday, breaking down hopefully a trophy celebration of sorts. And they might just get a check. I actually don't know if there's a trophy in this or just a large check. I should probably look that up for Sunday.
I think, and they get Zelled the money because they have talked about Zell the entire tournament. We get it.
Great placement.
We get it, Zell. You're going to Zell them the money. Thank you. Duly noted.
If you're listening to this and need a second listen of the day or evening or morning on Saturday morning, check out Locked On Big 12. Drake's doing a great job breaking down the latest conference realignment rumors. Is Oregon State coming or not? Who knows? We'll see. Locked On Coogs is a proud member of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Go Coogs, man. Go Coogs.
Always and forever.